You started on a Monday in March. You were 24 years old. You wore the new shirt you bought specifically for the first day. You ironed it the night before. You set 2 alarms. You arrived 11 minutes early and sat in your car in the parking lot until it was acceptable to go inside. The office smelled like carpet and coffee and something else you couldn't name. Something institutional. Something that had been there long before you arrived and would be there long after you left. You didn't know that yet. You were just noticing the smell the way you notice everything on a first day when your senses are operating at full capacity because everything is new and nothing is automatic yet. Your manager's name was Richard. He shook your hand and showed you to your desk. The desk was in the middle of a row of identical desks. The chair had a small tear in the fabric on the right armrest. The computer was older than you expected. Richard said someone would come by to set up your login credentials. Someone came by at 2 p.m. You spent the morning reading the employee handbook. By the end of the first week, you knew where the bathrooms were and which coffee machine made the better cup, and which of your coworkers would talk to you and which ones wouldn't. By the end of the first month, you knew the job. Not perfectly, but enough to stop feeling like you were performing it and start actually doing it. You were good at it. This surprised you slightly. Not because you doubted yourself, but because being good at something new feels different than you expect. It feels like recognition. Like the work was already inside you, waiting for a structure to organize around. Your first performance review was in December. Richard said you were exceeding expectations. You got a 4% raise. You went home and told nobody because there was nobody to tell in the way you wanted to tell them. You were 24 and living alone, and the raise meant $1,800 more per year before taxes. You bought yourself dinner at a restaurant you couldn't normally afford, and ate it alone at the bar and felt something adjacent to pride. This was year 1. Year 3. You know the job the way you know your own apartment in the dark. You know which processes take longer than they should. You know which clients are difficult and why. You know which coworkers do the work and which ones manage the appearance of doing the work. You know where the bodies are buried, metaphorically. You know which problems recur every quarter, and you've started solving them before anyone notices they exist. Richard notices. He gives you more responsibility without giving you a new title. The title will come later, he says. It comes 14 months later. Associate becomes senior associate. The salary goes up $6,000. Your responsibilities have already been senior level for over a year. You do the math on the gap. You file it away. You're 27 now. Your coworkers are a mix of people who have been there longer than you and people who started after you. The ones who started after you look at you the way you looked at the people who'd been there 3 years when you arrived. Like you have something they don't have yet. Like time itself is a credential. It is. You know this now. Time is the credential nobody puts on a resume, but everyone reads when you walk into a room. Year 5. Something shifts. Quietly. The way things shift when you're inside them and can't see the edges. You've been here long enough to know the rhythm of the place. You know when the busy periods hit. You know when to push and when to wait. You know the unwritten rules. The ones that aren't in any handbook. The ones that exist only as social knowledge passed laterally between people who've been here long enough to carry them. But you also know something else now. You know what the ceiling looks like. Not the literal ceiling. The other one. The one above your position that is occupied by people who have been here 20 years and who have relationships with people above them that were formed before you arrived. The ceiling isn't hostile. It's just structural. It was built before you got here, and it will be here after you leave. Your college roommate calls. He changed jobs twice in 5 years, and each time went to a higher salary. He's making $40,000 more than you now. He says you should think about your options. You say you're comfortable. The word sounds smaller than you meant it. You think about leaving. Not seriously. Just the way you think about all the parallel lives. The other versions of yourself that made different choices at the fork you didn't even know was a fork. The version that said yes to the recruiter who called in year 2. The version that applied to the MBA program. The version that started over in a new city.
You don't leave. The inertia isn't laziness. It's more complicated than laziness. It's the weight of 5 years of institutional knowledge that would reset to 0 somewhere else. It's the relationships you've built that function as social infrastructure. It's Richard, who you don't always agree with, but who you trust. It's the familiarity of knowing exactly where you stand and what is expected of you. Familiar is underrated. Nobody writes about the value of familiar. Year 7. Richard leaves. Not fired, promoted to a different division. His replacement is a woman named Karen who is younger than you expected and more capable than you initially gave her credit for. You adjust your read of her by month 3. By month 6, you've decided she's good. Different from Richard, more data-driven, less intuitive, but good. Karen reorganizes the team. Some roles shift. Yours shifts too. The new configuration plays more to your strengths. You find yourself doing work you actually like in a way you didn't know you could like work inside an institution this size. The reorganization that worried you turns out to be the best thing that's happened to your job in 2 years. This is something nobody tells you about staying. The place changes around you. Sometimes it changes in your direction. Sometimes it doesn't. But the change is always happening. The institution you work for in year 7 is not the same institution you joined in year 1, and you're not the same person who joined it. The relationship between you and the job evolves the way relationships evolve, not always forward, but always somewhere. Year 10, the halfway point. You don't mark it. Nobody does. There's no ceremony for a decade at a company. You get an email from HR with a gift card link and a note that says, 10 years, congratulations. You click the link. You choose a coffee maker. You put it on the kitchen counter and make coffee every morning and never think about why you have it. But privately, alone, you think about the decade. Not with regret, not with pride, with something more neutral than either of those. Something like inventory. 10 years. You know what you're good at. You know what you're not. You know which parts of the work fill you and which parts drain you, and you've gotten skilled at minimizing the latter without abandoning the former. You know your coworkers well enough to predict their behavior in meetings. You know the organization well enough to move things through it efficiently. This knowledge is invisible. It doesn't appear on a spreadsheet anywhere. But it's worth something. It's worth a lot. What you don't know yet is whether it's worth enough. Whether the depth you've built in one place has come at the cost of breadth you can't recover. Whether the security you've accumulated is a foundation or a cage. These are the questions year 10 asks that year 5 couldn't have articulated. You don't answer them. You make another cup of coffee and go back to work. Year 12. A younger coworker asks for your advice. Not about a task, about a career decision. He's been offered a job elsewhere, more money, newer company. He wants to know what you think. You tell him the truth. You tell him that more money is real, that newer companies have a certain energy that older institutions can't replicate, that leaving while you're still young and your identity isn't fully fused with one place is easier than leaving later, that the longer you stay somewhere, the more you become it, and the less you can tell the difference between loyalty and inertia. He asks if you regret staying. You say no. You mean it. But the no is more complicated than it sounds. The no contains the version of you who left and found something better, and the version who left and found something worse, and the version who stayed too long, and the version who stayed exactly long enough. The no is a bet you've been making for 12 years and haven't finished placing. He takes the other job. 6 months later, he's miserable. A year later, he calls it the best decision he ever made. Both of those things are true simultaneously. That's how decisions work at this scale. They're true in multiple directions at once. Year 15. Karen leaves. Another reorganization. Your third in 15 years. This time, you're senior enough to be in the room when the new structure is discussed. You're not deciding, but you're present while the decision is made. The distance between present and deciding is smaller than it was at year 5. Smaller, but still real. A new manager arrives. His name is James. He is 31 years old. He is 6 years younger than you. He is your boss. You process this for approximately 1 week, and then you stop processing it because the processing isn't useful. James is good, or he isn't. That's the only variable that matters. By month 2, you've determined he's good. By month 6, you've determined he's going to be important. You decide to be useful to him. You decide to let him be good without making it complicated. This is the skill nobody teaches.
The skill of navigating the moment when the institution starts promoting people younger than you into positions above you. The skill of continuing to do excellent work while recalibrating what excellent work means at this stage. The skill of knowing your value without needing it constantly confirmed. Year 17. Your mother asks when you're going to do something different. She doesn't mean anything cruel by it. She means that she wants things for you that she can picture, and the picture she has requires more visible markers of progress. A bigger title, a different company name, something she can explain to her friends. You don't explain the invisible things, the depth of your institutional knowledge, the quality of your relationships, the specific satisfaction of being genuinely skilled at something over a long period of time. The way the work has shaped you, and you have shaped the work, in a way that only happens through sustained engagement with a single thing. You say you're happy. She says that's wonderful. Neither of you is lying. Both of you are speaking different languages. Year 18. You train someone new. She's 24. She arrives on a Monday in March. She wears a new shirt. She arrives early and waits in her car. You were told to show her around. You show her to a desk. The chair has a small tear in the fabric. The computer is newer than yours was. You tell her someone will come by to set up her login. Someone comes at 2 p.m. You watch her take in the office the way you took it in 18 years ago, with all her senses operating at full capacity because everything is new. You remember that feeling. Not with nostalgia exactly, with something more precise, with the knowledge of what she's about to spend years learning, with the understanding that the desk and the chair and the coffee machine and the institutional smell are the beginning of something that will outlast the things she thinks she's starting. You don't tell her that. She wouldn't understand it yet. She has to live it first. Year 20. The anniversary passes on a Tuesday. There is another email. 20 years. Congratulations. The gift card this time is larger. You don't click the link immediately. You sit with the email for a moment. 20 years. You are 44 years old. You started here when some of your current coworkers were in high school. You have watched this institution change 4 times and stayed through all of it. You have had 4 managers, 3 reorganizations, 2 offices, 1 acquisition, 1 near bankruptcy that nobody talks about, but everyone who was here for it remembers. You are not the same person who ironed that shirt the night before. You are not the same person who sat in the parking lot for 11 minutes waiting to go inside. You are someone who knows this place better than almost anyone alive. You are someone whose knowledge is so deep and specific and embedded that it constitutes a kind of expertise that can't be transferred or replicated or acquired quickly by anyone who comes after you. This is worth something. You know this. You also know what it cost. You know the parallel lives you didn't live, the risks you didn't take, the ceiling you stayed beneath for reasons that seemed right in the moment and still seem right, and might always seem right, and also might have been the thing that kept you from something you can't picture because you never went to find it. You don't know which version of yourself would have been happier. This is the honest answer. The version who stayed and the version who left split apart so long ago at such a crucial age that comparing them is a fiction. You can't run the other scenario. You can only live this one. So you click the link. You choose something for the kitchen. You close the email. You make a coffee. You go back to work. The office still smells the same.